Victor Osimhen taught me what talent actually costs. 26 goals in a single season. Best center forward in Italy that year, by any number I checked. And the individual trophy that should have followed that still isn't his, not once. Everyone talks about the talent. What I keep coming back to is what it actually cost him to get here and what it's still costing him right now, while his next club is being decided in real time. And before I get into any of that, I want to be honest about something. I've never met him. I don't know him. Everything I know about Victor Osimhen, I know from match footage, from headlines, from interviews I have read an embarrassing number of times. That's it. That's the whole vantage point. This isn't him telling his own story. It's what watching him from a very safe distance for years has actually done to me. Which is a strange thing to admit about a stranger, I'm aware. But stay with me, because it took two completely different versions of the same man for it to actually click. Start where he started. Lagos, right next to 100 acres of landfill. In a one-room apartment that got smaller after part of the roof was taken and never replaced. He lost his mother when he was small. His dad raised 7 kids on whatever work he could find, and Victor, as a kid, sold bottled water to drivers stuck in traffic because that's what the day required. At 12, a small academy in Lagos picked him up. 3 years later, he scored 10 goals and won Nigeria the Under-17 World Cup. And he described it afterward in a way I have never quite been able to shake. One of 900 kids with the same dream, given 15 minutes to prove it, running until his words, he was sweating blood. By his mid-20s, he was at Napoli, and for one season, he was simply the best center forward in Italy. 26 goals, the first African player ever to reach that number in a single Serie A season. Napoli's first league title in 33 years. African Footballer of the Year. If the story stopped there, this is a completely different, much shorter video, and honestly, an easier one to watch. Quick pause, mad stat, nothing to do with football. 90% of you haven't subscribed yet. If you've made it this far, this channel's for you. You just haven't made it official. This is the part where you support it. Subscribe, like it. Back to Napoli, because this is exactly where it stops being easy. Because it didn't stop there. Some of it is almost funny. Looking back, there's a clip from 2022 of his own coach sending him away from training mid-session for arguing too hard about a tackle. Which, sure, we've all had a day like that at work. Most of us just don't have it filmed. The rest isn't funny at all. In September 2023, after he missed a penalty, Napoli's own social media account posted something mocking him for it, widely reported at the time as carrying real racist undertones. Osimhen has said, in more than one interview since, that he was treated, in his own words, like a dog, that he was racially insulted, that nobody from the club ever apologized. And even after all of that, the club still wasn't finished with him. Napoli blocked a move to Juventus that he wanted. And by one Italian outlet's reporting, one source so far, so I'll say reportedly, and mean it, his eventual exit deal contained a clause locking him out of Serie A entirely until September 2027. Napoli's own president has since admitted, publicly, that he mishandled the whole situation, a saga estimated to have cost the club somewhere around 60 million euros. So that's lesson 1 for me. A club can build its entire identity around everything he gives it, and still find a way to make him feel disposable the moment it's convenient. Here's where it turns, though. Not into something simple, but into something I genuinely didn't expect. Galatasaray took him on loan, then made it permanent for a reported 75 million euros. The most expensive signing in Turkish football history. He won the league. That part's a normal redemption story, the kind I'd have expected. That's the version of this story everyone already knows. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. What actually got me wasn't the trophy, It was the small stuff that kept surfacing afterward. Him quietly covering travel costs, so a group of fans could make it to a derby. Handing his own match jacket to a kid in the crowd. Then physically stepping in himself when a security guard tried to move that same kid along. Handing the captain's armband back to Ilkay Gundogan when Gundogan offered it to him. Like it wasn't even a decision worth making twice. None of that shows up in a stat line. 26 goals is a number. Giving a stranger's kid the actual jacket off his back is closer to a character reference. And somehow that's the clip that stuck with me longer than any of the goals did. And then the part that's still going on right now, which I think might be the part that actually matters most, because it hasn't resolved into anything yet. Through Nigeria's qualifying campaign for this World Cup, Osimhen scored 8 goals in 6 appearances, a hat-trick against Benin, a brace in extra time to beat Gabon. By any normal measure, that's a player dragging his country there almost by himself. Nigeria still didn't make it. They lost the final playoff to DR Congo on penalties, a result Nigeria's own federation formally disputed with FIFA afterward. It stood anyway. Weeks earlier, at the Africa Cup of Nations, he went off injured in extra time of the semi-final against Morocco and had to watch the shootout from the sideline as Nigeria lost. And a lot of Nigerian fans, in the moment, blamed his absence for it. And individually, since that won African Footballer of the Year award in 2023, he's finished runner-up 2 years running, first to his own Nigeria teammate, Ademola Lookman, then to Achraf Hakimi, twice the best in Africa by most people's read of the season, 0 times the winner since. So here's what I keep coming back to, that quote again, one of 900 kids with the same dream, running until he was sweating blood. Everyone focuses on the part where he's the one out of 900. I think the part that actually matters is what happens on the way there and after. Because getting out doesn't end the competition. It just changes what he's competing for next. Respect from a club that mocked him online. A place at a World Cup, his own performances more than earned. An award that keeps landing on someone else's shelf by inches. Talent got him into the room. It didn't guarantee the room would treat him fairly once he was in it. And it definitely didn't guarantee he'd get everything he was owed for getting there. I don't think this ends the way a highlight reel wants it to. There's no World Cup at the end of this one. There's one individual trophy in a cabinet that could reasonably hold 3 or 4. And there's a version of this story where that reads as a disappointment. That's not actually how I've landed on it, watching from where I watch from. Because here's what I actually think talent costs him, if I'm being honest about it, instead of just doing the highlight reel version. It costs him a club turning on him the second it's convenient. It costs him a World Cup he personally got his own country to the doorstep of. It costs him the trophy that should be sitting on his shelf twice over by now. He paid every part of that bill, all of it. And none of it changed what kind of person he apparently is when nobody's making him prove anything. He still gave a kid his jacket. That's not nothing. I've got my own version of this, if I'm honest. Something I'm chasing right now that feels like it only has room for one winner. Like the whole system's built to leave everyone else behind. And I don't think Victor Osimhen's story tells me it gets easy. I think it tells me it's survivable. And that who I am on the way through it might end up mattering more than whether I win. That's the case for what it's worth, from someone who's never met the man and has still somehow spent an unreasonable number of nights thinking about his career. If this one felt different from what we normally do here, tell me in the comments. And subscribe, because we're doing more of these.